Do not understand what my girlfriend wants, after coming back from a holiday together. Me, 26 per meter, and my GF, 25, F, had been seeing each other for the past 7 months. It was great in every sense of the word, and even after the honeymoon phase we'd never get into any kind of arguments whatsoever. Life felt perfect and both of us, jaded adults at this point, felt hopeful about our future. Fast forward, August and both of us, her younger sister and her boyfriend with some of his friends had planned a vacation trip for a week. The first day went by swimmingly, the route was long but we powered through and we were happy to reach our destination. On the second day I started noticing my girlfriend being a bit distant and aloof. I thought nothing much of it and figured it might be because of the minor flu she had. Long story short, every day after that day I'd felt her getting more distant. On the fourth day I tried talking to her about it and she stated that I need to tone down the affection, because apparently whenever I come close to her she feels the need to run for the hills. Yes, we were in the mountains and the irony of it wasn't lost on me. It was a surprise to me, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt and told her that I'll keep a tab on it. The next day, we were hanging out on the side of a beautiful river as some of our friends were swimming in the said river. It was quaint and we were mostly taking in the sight rather than talking. She said that she's going to explore on her own and I said, cool, and she went off on a walk. Everybody eventually got out of the river and started walking back to the hotel. I waited back for a bit and saw her sitting by a tree. I went to her, sat with her for 5 minutes and we talked about the weird patterns the current made. Then she told me that she can't deal with the things going on in her mind if I keep badgering her, to which I said that I'm just here for 5 minutes to let her know that we're all going back and we'll let her be. Afterwards all of us were driving to a different location that evening and long story short I gave her complete space, didn't talk to her unless spoken to first and all in all kept to myself. I could see her trying to find ways to talk to me, but at this point I lost any and all idea of what was making her behave like this. The rest of the trip honestly felt suffocating to me, because she was sick and felt abandoned by her sister, and since she had no one with whom she was close with on the trip I had to bite the bullet and be there for her even though I had stopped being comfortable around her ever since she said that run for the hills thing. We eventually came back home and I had to travel to a different city for work the very next day. I had dropped her and her sister off, said my goodbyes and decided that I'd give her a wide berth. We ended up not talking for the next 4 days. On the 5th day I saw that her sister had blocked me on Instagram. I talked to my girlfriend about it, to which she replied, "Lol." I asked her if she didn't want me around she can just say it, to which she said, "Do you really want a short and snappy answer to this?" I said I just want to talk to her and she left me on scene. She texted me the next day, telling me that we should go out for lunch when I come back home. I finished my work on Monday early morning and hurtled my way back to her. At this point all of this was weighing heavily on me and I just wanted clarity. I picked her up from her workplace and we just ended up driving around and talking. I learned during the talk that she didn't get her space during the trip, that I was being overprotective and that I didn't mingle with the rest of the group, and that she honestly does not feel the pull that I used to have on her before now, and that she does not know what to feel. It broke my heart, NGL, but I told her that I had planned to give her as much space as possible and that if she feels differently now we can just end it. She said she need to think all of this through and I said that she can have as much time and space as she wants, and that she should refrain from talking to me until she has some clarity. I dropped her back at her office and went back to home. In the evening she's texting me normally, so I told myself okay, she might have had some clarity, so I text her back normally and I still feel her being a bit reserved. A week passes by and I can clearly see that she is going out of her way to not spend time with me. She would hide the things we'd love to share, and all in all I started feeling like dead weight in her life. Yesterday I called her and told her that's been 10 days since we came back and asked her whether she has had any clarity on this matter. She said she has no idea. So I told her that I've been feeling like dead weight in her life and that I know mistakes might have been made by everyone during the trip, but I know that I do not deserve this kind of mental backlash. So I told her that if we can't resolve this together, let's just both take a break and deal with it individually. If it comes to her, that's well and good. If not, then the relationship dissolves on its own. Regardless, I'd be out of the picture until that happens. During the latter end of the first 6 months she also told me that she loved me, and for all intent and purposes this is our first fight. The trip was also the first time we spent more than 24 hours together in the same space. And #X200B. TL, Dr. Girlfriend been cold and distant ever since we came back from a vacation. Come on man, you can do better. Sounds like you are even begging her. Love is a two-way street and trust me, other ladies will love to have a man that is kind and considerate like you. If she is suffocating with the kind of affection you are giving, then walk away and set her free forever. Victory hand medium skin tone. Doesn't really feel like she likes you that much, dude. Better to cut your losses now and move on. You should break up. It'll be one of 3 scenarios. 1. She has deep-rooted mental health issues and is sabotaging the relationship herself due to past experiences. You said yourself that she relationship hops. 2. Her sister is putting things in her head and sabotaging the relationship for some reason. Hence the block, etc. 3. She has completely lost attraction for you and there's likely someone else in the picture who she's made an emotional connection with. Thus no longer needing to communicate with you at all. Your best course of action? Break up and find someone who actually shows you some respect. Dude, you might like her, but think. Are those issues that she has worth it in the long run? What's gonna happen when you make serious commitments in the future, have kids? She's not even willing to give full communication and resorts to ignoring. Is it worth dealing with? There's someone else. She stonewalled you for no reason, got distant for no reason, said she literally wants to run away from you, strings you along at her convenience and even told you she doesn't feel drawn to you anymore. Dude, dump this chick. What's the point of dating someone who doesn't want to be with you? Edit. Also super sus that her sister blocked you. There's definitely something really shady going on. Honestly, that sounds exhausting. If she can't tell you what her problem is, I'd stop waiting around. Money is destroying my marriage. My husband, 55, and I, 53 female, met at university more than 25 years ago. I was a typical skint student with a part-time job and I left uni with the required degree but lots of debt. He was what we jokingly called part of the pony club, i.e. was being supported through university by his parents and lived in a lovely flat overlooking the seafront. After university, we moved in together and both got jobs. He paid the deposit on our first rented flat and he went shopping with his parents' credit card for food. His family was better off than mine and his mother even gave me her old car when she was getting a new one so I could drive to work. When we were working, I began earning more than him. Initially it wasn't a big difference, but over the next 6 years, the gap widened. Then we got married and we bought a house together. My parents, now a bit better off themselves, gave us a contribution towards the deposit and my salary was what got us the mortgage. We paid an equal split of the dual stuff, mortgage and utility bills, and whatever money we had left over from our salaries was put in our own individual accounts. When we had kids, I paid for everything to do with them, from nappies to childcare to clothes and toys. I paid for everything outside of the joint mortgage and bills. This ranged from clothes, cutlery, curtains and carpets to holidays and haircuts. He was a little bitter about it very occasionally, making half-assed jokes about the waiter in Greece not expecting the woman to hand over the credit card, for example. It never bothered me and I often reminded him how lucky we were to have had help from our parents and to have all that we did. I was happy to be earning enough that we could have a good quality of life and never begrudged paying. After 12 years together I was earning twice his salary. As he started to earn a little better, he would contribute a little more, e.g. I'd pay for the holiday and he would provide spending money. As we got older, things started to become more even. We started to account for everything together, including childcare, and eventually it became more like a 65-35 split. I always had more money than him, but I saved some and spent the rest on things like clothes for us all, things for our home and garden, a lot, family holidays and any other events, meals out, etc. Then about 5 years ago I became ill and stopped working. For the first few years this had little impact because I had saved some money and I was about to go back to work before money had run out. But then COVID hit and the job fell through. My husband had started doing really well at work in the few years I'd been unwell and our roles were completely reversed. He seemed so much more confident and comfortable and I was really happy to see this change in him. It seemed to make our relationship stronger. Now he was more in the traditional, male, role. Then my money more or less ran out and he has had to pay all of our joint expenses himself for the last 12 months. I've still paid for my own clothes, toiletries, car etc. as I got a tax rebate. He has money put aside and can afford the extra expense quite easily. He is also spending a lot on himself, which I have encouraged, e.g. it was me who pushed him into choosing the best car he could afford. He's worked hard all through the pandemic and it's lovely to see him being able to buy what he wants after years of not having the money. But, geez, he's turned into an asshole recently. He makes snide comments about how he is paying for everything and frequently says he is the cash machine. We just had an argument about this and I reminded him that I had never ever commented about the fact that I paid for everything for so long in our relationship. He said he'd always paid his way, and had, more than made up for, the time I was always earning and spending more. I just can't get my head around this. I never knew it was something to keep score on, but now I know that's what he's thinking. I just keep going over and over everything and getting more and more angry. I look around our house and think, I bought the windows, the blinds, the paint on the walls, the beds, bedding, towels, light fittings, and so on. I'm so hurt and angry and disappointed. I'm also the kind of person who won't forget these feelings easily. I've had therapy in the past, so know I have this tendency and how to try to manage it, and I'm starting to dislike him more and more. I don't know if I can get past this. Does anyone have any words of wisdom for me? Too long did not read. I never knew my husband was keeping score when it comes to who spent what during our 25-plus year relationship, but now I know, I can't forgive. Aside from the talk to him and marriage counseling. He may not realize how hurtful his comments are. Your story is kind of sad because that is what in my mind a good marriage is supposed to be. A carries the ball, gets knocked down. B picks it up and the team goes on. B gets knocked down, A steps up. That's how an equal marriage is supposed to work. Couples counseling, don't let this fester any longer than it has to. It sounds to me that he probably felt emasculated by you being the higher earner over the years. His ego was probably more fragile than you realized. He's feeling a new sense of pride and power, and instead of behaving humble manner, he's behaving like a child with a shiny new toy. He's enjoying the power exchange. He really shouldn't even think about it. You guys are a couple. My wife and I got a joint account right before getting married and I love it. I made all the money while she was in med school, but now she makes a little more than me. We just never think about who pays for what because we think of it as we both paid since it comes from our account. Maybe when you get back to yourself, can do the same to discourage those thoughts from him. It's not nice. I mean, joking, calling himself your sugar daddy is one thing, but saying what he does about it is mean. It's sickness and in health for richer, for poorer. He played you. You paid for everything when you had the means instead of investing your money for your future. Classic mistake. Cautionary tales for female lurkers. Do not pay for everything for the kids. It always should be split with their fathers. Invest in your future in your money-making years. Please tell him that you were the cash machine for many years and, to be honest, contributed much more than he has. So he should stop saying that. Get in marriage counseling ASAP. Also, literally tell him, I spent years paying for everything. I will happily show you a spreadsheet of how much I spent giving our family a good life to show that you have not remotely made up for it. If you are so determined our marriage is about keeping score. You need to know that I am hurt and dislike you more and more with every snide comment and snarky remark. I've been ill and you've been an ass. Our marriage is fracturing more and more every day, and if you want to remain in it, you need to change how you treat me in our marriage. It isn't my fault that your fragile male ego couldn't handle having a successful wife, and it isn't my fault I got sick. You need to grow up and decide if you love this family whole or boasting and being prideful. If you were earning 2x as much as him, then a 65-35 split is very reasonable and around what his contribution should have been. Now that he's the higher earner, though, he needs to carry the load. Like someone else mentioned, this sounds like a fragile masculinity problem where the new power has gone to his head. It can be that he was waiting to earn more all this time, to be able to make those snarky, demeaning comments. Consciously or not. Maybe you had a good life with him already. And I think even getting older, you should at least like the person you're getting old with, if not love. You can't force yourself into liking him. Maybe it's time to let go. Is my wife a terrible person? Trigger warning: I can't get any solid answers on this, so here I am seeking answers from the best place to get answers. So, a few days ago, I get a phone call from my wife at work. She tells me our son, 2 Malio old, suddenly went limp while she was changing his diaper. She said he wasn't really breathing until she touched where his heart was, then he would breathe in all shakily and exhale with a sigh. Obviously I told her to call 911. I met the ambulance at the house. Our son was letting out this horrifying scream that was like raspy and high-pitched. His skin was the color of paper with a tint of gray. The paramedics wrapped him up and I met all of them at the hospital. Doctors and nurses started treating him right away, IV, oxygen, etc. They started running tests on him for things like meningitis and other diseases that could affect his brain because they said it looked like he was having a seizure. My wife was crying her eyes out, so I was holding her and trying not to let her look at him. Every once in a while when he would wake up, I would wrap my arms around him and say, "It's okay, buddy. Papa is here." And he would fall right back asleep. They took him back for a CT scan. After he came back, the doctor randomly asked us, "Has he had any trauma recently? Like being dropped? Car wreck? Fall?" Both of us said no. But mine found it odd that this went from diseases to brain injury. Then a detail about my wife came to mind. She has been struggling with PPD. She never felt a bond with him and got annoyed with him very easily, sometimes angry. I took care of him for the most part, and always told her to tell me if taking care of him was too much for her. Yes, she did receive treatment, and has been on antidepressants, anti-anxiety for PPD. Well, apparently that PPD got the best of her and she shook our baby twice. Apparently she really struggled when I went back to work and just didn't tell me. Her adrenaline would activate when he would cry. She would lose herself in anger. She has memory gaps about everything she did, and can't remember most of the week prior to our hospital visit. Of course I told the doc. He reported to the cops and they're involved now. The doc said our son has a brain bleed on the back of his brain and damage from hypoxia. He was rushed to a specialty hospital. I went with him. I had his mom dropped off at a mental hospital to seek treatment, research as to why she did this. I'm stuck between thinking that she's mentally ill, and that we can be a family again once she's healthy. Or she's actually just a terrible heartless person who never cared about our son and never wanted him. Is she evil? I don't know. Is she mentally ill? Yes. Should she be anywhere near your son until she gets help? No. His life is in danger and she's not ready to be a mother. His life is on the line and he deserves to be safe. I'm quite sure the police and CPS will be making sure his well-being is made first priority. I highly suggest you also seek therapy to deal with this traumatic experience and how to move forward. I wish you all the best through this terrible time. In a crisis, you make decisions based on immediacy of need. 1. Your wife can have no contact with your son. He comes first. 2. Your son needs you more. Devote your energy, time, and all other resources to him. 3. Protect your son and yourself, legally. 4. You cannot take care of others until you care for yourself. Utilize your resources. Parents, doctors, therapists. Don't neglect you. 5. Deal with the wife. Maybe, someday, she can be better, but for right now, she's forced a terrible situation on you. And an equally terrible choice, made worse because she's ill. Cold, hard advice. Wife comes last, after your son and you. So here I am seeking answers from the best place to get answers. I am so sorry for what you are going through. But honestly, I think this warrants the advice of a professional. Do you have a counselor you can speak to about this? They can help you more than anyone here possibly can. Again, I am so sorry. This is above Reddit's pay grade. You will have to find out what the professionals have to say after she's been thoroughly evaluated. You have my sincerest hopes that your son will recover and thrive and my deepest sympathy for what you're going through. If she has postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis, then it may have been beyond her control, but only a professional can really answer that for you. I'm so sorry this happened and I hope your son will be okay. PPD is some serious shit and can make the kindest, most loving women do unimaginable things. My advice: just take it a day at a time and try to keep an open mind. You all will need tons of time, patience, love and support to heal from this. I highly suggest you also immediately find you a therapist to help you navigate through this extremely difficult situation. I wouldn't care whether people wanted to label her a terrible person or not. I would just do everything in my power to ensure she was never alone with a child ever again. That involves leaving her ASAP and getting a lawyer. Whatever's going on with her, you have your son to protect. To give you a direct answer, I would say that there's not enough information to make a definitive answer. Mental illness can do some fucked up things to our brain. It's hard to say what she was going through at the time. Was she fucked up for injuring a defenseless child? Oh hell yes. Do you have a right to be concerned that she might do this again? Oh hell yes. I can't sit here and tell you how you should proceed other than make sure your child is okay and that your wife gets the help she needs. I hope that everything works out for your family. This has got to weigh heavy on you. Edit. Clarified the word, she, to, your wife. I'm a lousy writer. I, 22 female. Feel like a prisoner in my relationship with, 30 male, update. My last post. Didn't garner much attention, but I feel as though an update could help anyone else who may be in a similar situation as I was. The update is, I was right. My gut instinct told me the relationship was wrong and I was so correct. What I forgot to mention in my last post was that my ex was obsessed with another woman even before we were together officially. When we were friends he would constantly talk about her. Said she was a free spirit, and there was something about her that had him pretty much captivated. 4 months into our relationship he cheated on me with her. He said they only kissed, but he is a compulsive liar, so I have no real idea just how far it went. Probably all the way, it doesn't even matter anymore. A month after that he continued to talk and play lol with her even after knowing how much it hurt and broke me when he cheated. He still chose her again. Well, last night I discovered that he was back in contact with her, and not only that, he also had kept a letter she sent him years ago and never told me about it. He also kept mementos from the night he cheated on me. He kept them safe, as he told her. We recently went on a family holiday together near to where the other woman lives. Even then my gut was feeling off. I was right to feel it. He tried multiple times to go off and meet her whilst being on holiday with me. He literally forced me to go on holiday with him only to then try and go meet her. He has been talking to her since May, but I suspect longer. Either way he told her she never left his mind. He told me we were soulmates and that he loved me more than anyone. He was completely full of shit. For months I knew something was off in our relationship. I fucking knew it. And I was completely correct. Trust your gut instincts. They will most likely be spot on. I will no longer be with anyone again. I felt trapped in this abusive relationship only for it to be built on lies and bullshit. Guess I'm glad I'm finally free. Only wish I hadn't given him such a chance to hurt me the way he did. Worst part is, he genuinely doesn't care. He even blames me for him cheating. Too long did not read. X was a piece of shit. I'm finally free at least. I didn't see your first post, but this was nice to read. I'm glad you got out. Go live your best life without that trash. I'm glad you're out, but are you safe op? In your previous post you mentioned that you had nowhere to go until September because you were dependent on him. Please stay safe, this guy sounds unstable and dangerous. Get an STD check if you haven't already. Just read the last one, good on ya. It's good to trust your own feelings. You don't need anybody else's permission. Thumbs up. This is why when an otherwise rational non-anxiety riddled person is pushed to snooping because they have suspicions, there is almost always something. You need to read The Gift of Fear. Will greatly help prevent situations like this and much worse as well. You're still young. You'll find someone else. Lister to your gut. The vast majority of time our gut is right, but we often ignore it. This book goes over all that as well. He was an abusive psycho in your last post. You should have left him then. No need to abstain from relationships, but PLS have some self-love and leave the minute you see the red flags. I will no longer be with anyone again. This sounds like a major trauma response and you might need therapy. Actually, with your whole situation you will need therapy. You may find someone else, you may really be single for the rest of your life. I'm sorry for your pain and trauma. I hope you are glad the healing has begun.